Swiss citizen, why do you demand more democracy for the European Union?
The basic fact is that no democracy can be defended on the national level. No nation state can defend democracy. Because one of the promises of democracy, a fair distribution of the life chances, needs a power which can intervene in the market forces. And today the market is global, so nation states are too weak.
So would you like Switzerland to join the European Union one day? Switzerland to become a member of the EU?
I said already yes to this question 25 years ago, but the beauty of direct democracy is that you can say what you want. It will only happen when there is a majority in favor of it, and this majority will only be here when Europe is more democratic. So my work for more democracy in Europe is also, but not only, a way to bring Switzerland in.
What can the European Union learn from direct democracy in Switzerland?
When I have to answer in one sentence, is that you don't have to be afraid from the people, because Europe was foreseen as a democratic institution, but it could not happen in the Cold War. And then they started to get acquainted by building Europe against the people, without the people. And this is the contrary what Lincoln said. But a good democracy is not only for the people, but also with the people. And today you have the impression, exactly the same attitude like the Swiss liberals had in 1848, when they didn't want to include the people in the decision making. And it's a very Leninist attitude also. The cause of the people is so important that you can't leave it to the people. And against this arrogance, it was exactly this arrogance which formed a coalition of workers, farmers and artisans which got the Swiss direct democracy, because it's not so old, it's only 120 years old.
When we look at the current situation of the EU, like 2 months after the majority of British people decided to leave the European Union, and now we're here in Bratislava today, the 16th of September 2016. What has to happen today for you to move the European Union into a better direction?
Oh, I would say I know it will not happen, because I listened to Mr. Juncker's speech in Strasbourg 2 days ago. So I'm already disappointed before the day is starting. But when I could tell him what should have been done, is that the Europeans should understand this as a wake-up call, the Brexit, and being aware that 50% is because of Britain is in a bad shape, but 50% is also because Europe is in a very bad shape. And the wake-up call in order to renovate the European Union. In German you have a nice expression, Totalrevision, or totale Renovation. You need to reconstruct the European Union and finish with a treaty, which also gives to the European Court in Luxembourg too much power. He can undermine even social legislation in the nation states, and they should understand this as a wake-up call and tell the people we are now ready to start the reconstruction.
And democracy is about a process. It's about certain ways of arriving at a certain compromise. The European Union has a certain challenge, because we have now 27 member states, all 450 million people if we exclude the British people already. So this poses a huge challenge to European democracy. Do you have any solutions or any recipe to how to establish transnational democracy at European Union level, considering these huge challenges?
You know, recipes is too easy, but you have experiences. You have the biggest democracy in the world is also a federal state, India. And then you have a little bit less big ones, but still bigger than the European Union, the United States or the Canada. And when you look at the history of the United States, it was exactly the same struggle between the states in the moment where they start the constitution making. So this would be one of my ideas, that you have to make a report on what you can learn from the history of the federal states, what Europe has to be, could make, not to become United States of Europe, because that would be too centralistic in our sense, but then use the German notion of federalism, which is a very decentralization and leaves as much power to the regions and to the nation state, and only put to the center what can't be done by the nation state. And the second point is, and this we always forget, because we should never forget that 10 more states want to become member of the European Union. The Brits are out, but this is not relevant. Still, you have the whole Balkan, and even Ukraine or Turkey wants to become member. And the door should always be open for them. But today, the European Union is incapable to integrate more countries. And this is a very heavy catastrophe for these countries. And there the responsibility of the European Union is also heavy.
Who is the European Union? If it was a democracy, then also the people would be responsible, considering whether new countries should join the European Union or not. Looking at the process again, how would you design the process of democracy in the future?
There are different ways to get to the constitution. You can use what Democracy International already studied, Article 48, which is the way officially in the treaty how to change the treaty. This is a little bit complicated and also very executive. The governments again are the main actors. But we could also say at home that we only elect people which are ready to make this change, because the power at home is very crucial what happens in Brussels. This is often underestimated. And then it would be very easy to make a new element in the treaty, saying that when 5 million of people would ask for, we are ready to open a convention. And this could be done in a very easy way, and then we could show to the elites that the people are interested, that people are not just nationalistic as they see. This is also the point we have to do. There is a nationalistic regression as a reaction to the situation, but we have to show that the nation state should not be over. This is a difference to Mrs. Gero. But the nation state should be ready to relativize itself, and we need a democratic Europe.
So, do you see any optimism in the future of the European Union, or?
Yes, I know that the European Union does not depend on Mr. Juncker, and even other governments which are worse than Mr. Juncker, because Mr. Juncker, in fact, he knows exactly what we mean.
Yes.
Because in his youth he started the same, and I remember him speaking in the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe once, where he defended the Constitution, but his colleagues are less able. But we should push him and push these people by mobilizing our citizens.
Yes.
And this has also not been done enough in the recent times. That's why it's so important to make such gatherings like you are doing here.
Yes, Democracy International has collected almost 60,000 signatures that we sent to the EU politicians today to call for this democratic convention. So thank you very much for the interview, and we are continuing with our work.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.